On the back of the demise of our former president, there have been a lot of goodwill messages, nice things, tributes, flowery tributes, if I may add. But it can't be. There's no one who is all good. So from where you sit, what was the good, the bad, and the ugly of Jerry John Rawlings?
Well, I think the ugly was the indiscipline that was generated by his revolution, and the fact that several people, I mean, lost their lives in the process. And over the years, you know, you had, like, for example, you remember the execution of these former heads of state, that sort of thing. You know, that, I think, was unfortunate.
You're referring to the generals?
Yes, the generals, you know. That was unfortunate.
That was unfortunate. But do you feel the former president necessarily sanctioned that?
No, I believe that he was probably under pressure from the other ranks. You know, that's what I think happened. I can't prove it. No.
What would you remember him for the most? What is that one thing or few things you would remember the most when you think of former President Rawlings?
I think his honesty and his honest belief in the good of the country. You know, I believe that he had very good intentions. He was selfless. You know, it's not like where you get politicians leave office and they are very wealthy. He never acquired any wealth.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Joy News channel. We're still celebrating or commemorating and also remembering the former president, Jerry John Rawlings, here on the Joy News channel. We're told that there's a vigil, and we have been telling you about it earlier. And you also heard a while ago, a lawyer Obeda Samoa. That full interview will be played tomorrow on the AM show with Benjamin Akapo and Mama Vio Wiswabwaji. But let me take you live to the Obra Sports now, where Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbing is currently addressing the crowd.
There. And so you heard a shout from far away, "Stop!" And we had to halt. And then another shout, "Come out!" My governor's association could not and had to come out and walk all the way to the military officers and introduced myself and said I was bringing Dr. So-so and so. He may not want his name to be mentioned here. And I had to, on daily basis, send people to Gonda Barracks and stay there with them for the whole day till the night. At that time, he was tapping the brains, the knowledge, the wisdom of very respectable Ghanaians all over the country. So that is how the foundation of the PNDC was laid. I was lucky then because my lecturers, you know, our legal wizard, Chajuchikata, Professor Kwamina Hoy, and the rest were part of it. And so we knew some people. And we admired and respected them so much that once they joined that course, we knew it was the right course to join. Apart from the charisma of the personality, the charisma of integrity of the leader, and the passion, the infectious and contagious passion of His Excellency Jerry John Rawlings swept all of us off our feet. And I never regretted, and I will not regret following that course. Again, another unthinkable thing happened. I was with some senior personalities discussing the strategies we could put in place to make sure that we had a peaceful, free, fair elections. When one of them whispered to me, "Have you heard?" I said, "What?" They said, "His Excellency J.J Rawlings is no more." That was a thunderbolt. Some people say that I've eaten the tortoise. So you can scarcely get tears from my eyes. But tears flowed through my eyes. I was shocked because after the funeral of his beloved mother, our grandmother, he sent a message to me. He wanted to meet me. There were a few things we wanted to discuss as to the way forward, and this was not to be. But I believe he is not dead. Physically, he has left us, but I am sure he is still with us. And I know the day of Pentecost will come, and we will all be fired up. For 7 January 2021, I am sure His Excellency John Dramani Mahama will be sworn in as the President of Ghana. Your Excellency, J.J Rawlings is with us, and he will continue to be with us forever and ever. He lived and died for Ghana, and the best Ghana can do for him is to hold his legacy and to bring back the principles he stood for. Honesty, probity, accountability, and nothing but the truth. I'm told my time is up. I have to thank all of you for coming. And may the good Lord continue to bless Ghana and all of us. Thank you so much.
Oh, and it's the right size, too. I don't think I could have worn this thing. Let me try. Come on. Happy birthday to you. In spite of all these, but she's getting too fair. And yet, I see, I am about it's in my minka. And she that she you not let I said me, papa. Anita. Young Binu NDCs, ya Darga In spite of all these issues, let us as a party not overlook.
That is our dear father, our daddy, our founder, our ex-president. He was a man whose heart was full of love, very down to earth, and he always spoke the truth. And that is his legacy. Ruth Sedor is the Deputy National Youth Organizer. She's here with us. Mr. Kweku Bwain is the Deputy Communication Officer. He's here with us. Mr. Akogan is another Deputy Communication Officer. He's also here with us. Ni Jangma Vanderpoy, a member of the Election Directorate and former Deputy Minister, is also here with us. Honorable Baba Jamal, a member of the Legal Committee, is here with us. Mr. Danny Annan, senior citizen and a member of the Greater Accra Regional Campaign Team, is here with us. Mr. Kojo Bonsu, former mayor of Kumasi, is here with us. Honorable Haruna Rashid, the National Director of Research, is here with us. Honorable Sam George Jata, MP for Ningo Prampram, is here with us. Honorable Roxanne Dapi Amakpo, MP for South Dine. Is it South or North? Roxanne is here with us. And I hear some pieces are here. How many pieces are here? I see Honorable Teresa Winnie here, Okankwe North. I see Honorable Eliklim Akurugu. And all the other pieces here, let me see your hands. And all of you, let me see your hands. You are all here. Now is the time for us to take the speech on behalf of Ambassador Daniel Abodakpi to be read by Madame Ekuya Sena Danswa, former ambassador to the Republic of Germany.
Eyezu, Eyezuza, Eyezu. Thank you very much. I am here to read this statement on behalf of Senior Comrade Ambassador Dan Abodakpi. We are gathered here tonight to keep vigil for the departed soul of the founder of our great party, the NDC, and the founder of Ghana's longest and most peaceful republic, the Fourth Republic. Vigil is kept for two reasons: either to hold prayers or to hold a protest. It is important as comrades of the great NDC to understand why we are gathered here tonight. We are not here tonight for a fanfare or to campaign. We are assembled here because our great NDC and Ghana has been hit by unexpected and a devastating tragedy at a time most crucial in the life of our party. It is a moment for us to undertake a deeper reflection not only on the demise of our founder, Flight Lieutenant J.J Rawlings, but most importantly on the future of our great party, the NDC. It is not a night for political slogans to ginger party members, but a night to deeply reflect on our conduct so as to ask deep and searching questions for our conscience to answer in prayer. Indeed, it is a time to also protest against ourselves in the quietness of our vigil and meditation. A protest to remind ourselves of whether the foundational pillars and values of NDC, which the founder stood for and defended all his life, can be sustained in coming days and in the years ahead. Let us sincerely and soberly search our souls in these difficult times. Besides the Fourth Republic, NDC is the greatest living legacy John Jerry John Rawlings has bequeathed to us and to Ghanaians. And his legacy shall and must be protected and defended at all times. It is the only legacy which has brought hope, equality, equity, justice, accountability, probity, and development into our body politics. His Excellency Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings deserves a befitting state burial, not an ostentatious state burial, but a burial ceremony that should reflect his simple, ordinary, and magnanimous lifestyle. The NDC, in consultation with his family, allied family, and Anglon/Volta traditional rulers, shall demand full participation in the pre-burial and burial arrangements. The NDC, which is Jerry John Rawlings' living legacy, shall honor him by participating in his funeral and burial activities. It will be unconscionable and an indelible blot on the conscience of NDC not to honor our founder by not playing key activities and roles in his burial ceremony. In moving forward, this is a period for sober reflection. Our utterances on the death of His Excellency Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings should be decorous, devoid of rancor and opportunism. Mutual respect among stakeholders and eschewing of excessive partisan score is required in planning the funeral activities so as to honor our founder. Jerry John Rawlings positively impacted many lives, from the street hawker to leaders of nations. Let us create the opportunity and the platform for them to pay their last respect. Long live Jerry John Rawlings. Long live the legacy of Jerry John Rawlings. Long live the NDC. Long live Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Akiasena Danswa. The regional
So just gone by, it was a message at the vigil from Dana Budaki, read to you by Sana Danswa, and that vigil is still ongoing at the Obra Sport. This is the Joy News channel. We'll take a quick break. When we return, I'll take you back to the Obra Sport for more from that vigil ongoing. We're told that it will go all the way to midnight. We're with you here on the Joy News channel. We'll bring you everything from that vigil at the Obra Sport. This is the Joy News channel. Apologies, we have to break into that to take you back to the Obra Sport, where daughter of the former president, Jerry John Rawlings, Aneto Ajiman Rawlings, is currently speaking.
Time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to rend. And a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What profit had he that worketh in laborers? I have seen the travail which God hath given to the sons of men to be exercised therewith. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Also he hath set eternity in their heart. yet so that man cannot find out the work that God hath done from the beginning even to the end. I know that there is nothing better for them than to rejoice and to do good as long as they live. Most of the previous speakers have spoken about the values and principles that my father lived by. Values and principles which, within his power, he did everything to instill within the government that he led. An inclusive one, which even before the era of constitutional rule, understood the value of everybody's opinion being part of decision making. As we stand here today to honor his memory, I will leave you with a quote from my father. We often get lost in the games of politics and often forget our North Star should be our principles, values, and kindness to one another. We often get lost in the games of politics and often forget that our North Star should be our principles, values, and kindness to one another. In many ways, this is summed up by the golden rule, that we treat each other as we would love to be treated. I pray that as we enter this period towards the election on the 7th of December, that we let these values live within us and we absolutely protect what we have as a nation, because that is how we will honor his memory. I thank you, and God bless you all.
And on that very somber note, we need to uphold our principles, values, and kindness to each other as we invite the chief scribe, the chief executive of this great party, our general secretary, Honorable Johnson Esiedun Ketia, to speak to us.
Your Excellency, former President John Dramani Mahama, and comrades gathered here, I also want to proceed by the protocols established by earlier speakers. I want to begin by asking a very simple question. And that is to say that after the passing of President Rawlings, there seems to be a meeting of minds about the fact that he was not only a great man, was a great Ghanaian and great African. But what will be left of a great man if his great works are taken away from him? Everybody becomes ordinary without great works. It is the great works that make the difference between an ordinary man and a great man. So I want to ask another question as to how best, if we all know that President Rawlings was a great man, a great statesman, how best can we honor his memory? And my view is that the best way of honoring the memory of a great man is to continue doing what he would have done if he were to be alive. And that is why I think that this vigil is a very important contribution to his memory. We all know that every December 31st, the cadres and the NDC observe the beginning of the revolution by keeping vigil at these same grounds. So that is why the leadership of the party felt that the best way to start honoring our fallen hero is to begin with this vigil. President Rawlings, when he was alive, did not take pleasure in monuments being named after him. In fact, there were several occasions where he resisted the attempt to name monuments after him. His life also showed that he abhorred ostentatious living and ostentatious funerals and ceremonies. He kept reminding us that the best tribute we can keep to his memory is to hold dearly the principles of June 4th, based upon which the NDC was established. And so, my dear comrades, I believe strongly to keep President Rawlings alive is to observe the principles of June 4th, to keep on practicing what he cherished most, and for my comrades in the Keda fraternity, for us to be reminding ourselves about the simple things he did to show that he cared for his fellow Ghanaian. President Rawlings showed in many ways that leadership is done by example. So even as he called for communal labor, he would not be sitting in his office. Right there in the trenches, in the gutters of Nima, holding shovel and desilting gutters. Now, if you see the leader engaged in what he's admonishing the followers to do, who will not follow that leader? He also admonished us that in the past, it was sufficient to blame our offenses on directions from above and from our superiors. But June 4th taught us that it is wrong, and that every individual has a conscience, every individual has a duty to this nation. And so if you are given instructions which you consider to be injurious to the welfare of the state, you have the right to defy those instructions and to resist. And that was what came to be known as positive defiance. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe sincerely that what is missing in our democracy, which is creating problems of corruption, nepotism, and lack of transparency, is the lack of the spirit of positive defiance. We have all the institutions which are designed to check the abuse of power. Our problem is the attitude of the people who populate the institutions. If politicians order security men to turn the guns they have been armed with to protect the citizens into suppressing the citizens they are intended to protect, we expect that professional security men will say, no, sir. We have sworn to defend the citizens. So we are on the side of the citizens against the abuse of power. But how many of our security men can do that? If public servants are impressed upon by politicians to create opportunities for the politicians to loot the state resources, with the spirit of positive defiance, we expect the chief directors, and other public servants to say, no, sir. We have sworn to protect this nation. But what is happening today, the nepotism we are seeing, the corruption we are seeing, which in several ways can be said to be worse than what prevailed before the June 4th. It is happening because we have abandoned the important principle of positive defiance. So the best way to remember President Rawlings is for us to go back, not to be reciting the principles, but to find out what those principles mean to our democratic survival, and to pledge to live by them. The first few people who want to practice positive defiance may suffer for it, but eventually they'll prove to be martyrs who have sacrificed their lives to save this, our democracy. Again, President Rawlings spoke constantly about accountability. Many of us just mentioned probity, accountability, without taking a step to find out what does accountability mean. There are a lot of people who think that when you talk about accountability, it's just about accounting for money. Money is part of it. But the most important way to hold ourselves accountable is to account for power and authority. Because we have been told by cadres, and we reduce it into saying that power belongs to the people forever and ever. It is from this that we learn that anybody who finds himself in a position of power is just there in a position of trust. Hold the power, utilize the power to protect the masses, to seek the welfare of the masses, and to account to the people at the appropriate time as to how that power has been utilized. And one key principle means of holding people to account for how they use their power is through free, fair, and transparent elections. So if we are all preaching that we want to honor President Rawlings, let's honor him by keeping the structures that can hold people in power to account for how they use the power that has been entrusted into them by the masses. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I believe I have spoken enough since the demise of our founder. But I want to remind all of us that the little things that President Rawlings took pleasure in doing, we believe that his memory shall be better observed by doing some of the things that he took pleasure in doing during this time of mourning him. I have mentioned his pleasure in accompanying the masses to undertake communal labor. And I want to believe that the party followers throughout the country can best honor his memory by at least dedicating one day in your various constituencies, in your various branches, to undertake a massive cleanup exercise in remembrance of President Rawlings. On the eve of every June 4th celebration, we undertook,
and I faced him eyeball to eyeball, and that day it was something else. He urged me on, that carry on. His words of inspiration, his mentorship, his leadership style is what has brought all of us, young ones, to come to the level of party leadership. So as you eulogize him tonight, and as you celebrate his life, there is only one thing I ask of you. Let's close our ranks. Let's come together. Let's actively participate in this rescue mission to rescue Ghana. Let us remain focused. Very, very, very focused. Especially in the times that we find ourselves. We have very, very little time at our disposal to complete the rescue mission. Don't let us take our eye off the ball. Let us focus. Focus on the election, because we need to win this election. The best tribute that we can pay to the memory of our founding father is to win this election convincingly, so that we can continue to uphold the flame of the principle that he stood for. The principle of social justice, the principle of transparency, the principle of accountability, the principle of popular participation. These are time-tested principles. And I believe that if we all come together with one spirit and one accord, there is nothing that the NDC cannot accomplish. And I want to assure His Excellency, our incoming president and our incoming vice president, that the party structures at all levels will be mobilized in these coming weeks, even though this temporary halt has slowed down the momentum that our campaign has generated. We will rekindle and redouble our effort to put more fire and energy into the campaign, because that is the only way that we can immortalize the principle that JoyNews Rawlings stood for. I believe that we are up to the task, and we'll come together and deliver a resounding victory. And on that day, 7th January 2021, when His Excellency, the new President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, lift up the state sword and is swearing the oath, and is looking up, you'll be looking up to the heavens, and to doing that, to glorify the memory of the party founding father, His Excellency Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings. May his memory
and his principles live with us and live in our heart forever and ever. Aluta continua. Thank you, and God bless us all.
This is the Joy News channel, and we're bringing you a live feed from the Obra spot here in Accra Circle, to be precise, where the NDC is currently holding a vigil in memory of the late President Jerry John Rawlings. And just gone by, we've heard from the chairman of the NDC, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo. Earlier also, we heard from General Sedun Ketia, and then also we've heard from Zaneto, Dr. Zaneto Ajiman Rawlings. That's also just gone by. We'll bring you more from that shortly. We're also expecting the former president himself, John Mahama, to also mount that stage, and then also the running mate. Before then, we are told that the running mate will also have his turn. My colleague Maxwell Agwagba is on the ground for us. We'll be going to him shortly for some reactions from the ordinary Ghanaian, those who've gathered there for this vigil. But this is the Joy News channel. We can see some of the videos that we've put together for the former President Jerry John Rawlings.
In April 2019, former President Jerry John Rawlings rejected an offer by the Education Ministry to rename the University for Development Studies after him. That was the second time he has rejected the offer. The first was in 2017. He asked the ministry to remove the clause that sought to rename the university in his honor from the university bill. But President Akufo-Addo is not giving up just yet. Here is his latest push at the UDS graduation ceremony on Saturday.
The energies and immense amount of work undertaken by President Rawlings and his government resulted in the establishment of this university. History tells us that he uses prize money of $50,000 United States dollars from the World Food Prize as seed money to help in the establishment of UDS. In 2017, I indicated to him, through the Minister for Education, and with the knowledge of the university's board chair, Mr. Lutifafa Kohenia, my decision to make
repeated. There was a time when the Chinese ambassador sat here and was asking me, like, where is the revolt? Where is the revolution? Like, it just came and disappeared again or what? I said, yeah, something like that. But it's here. It's right with us. So, in a way, I had to explain to him where it's gone to for the moment. Speaking English is wonderful. French, German, all these colonial languages, they seem to command more power than our local languages. You know, but somehow we've adopted the English language or the French or, you know, some of these colonial languages. And we speak them without the integrity that is part of our culture. There's so much integrity in our culture, in our local language.
Shami Miji Nuhunam Ndoso. Nemu Tetakodanu or Shami no Mia.
My colleague, ministers of state, honorable lecturers of the various faculties, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I think I prefer the lady. I prefer the lady. I mean, this little warm food you want to enjoy, you want to come out.
In spite of all these, Anita, what does that make of us? Anita, mi frau ti unti. Anita si mi yenu papa. Mi yenu papa susuke. In spite of all these, but she's getting too fair. Yanja sani amanu samano enye. Osi oya mi bawo iti maminka. Chida chidio na metina ha na ka se mi yehu papa. Anita. Young binu mo NDC so ya darga for pow.
Many years later, one go here, Madam Fatia Nkrumah, my wife. No. Jana Kufoye. Okra no coffee no, Madam Fatia no coffee. Or this Shana a Kotojum, no more to him. No alpha and get chief towel. No, yes, sir.
This is the Joy News channel, and just gone by some memorable videos from the former President Jerry John Rawlings. We'll definitely bring more back to you, but let me take you back to your brass sport now for live feed from that vigil. Amen.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much. And we're getting to the climax of today's activities. There are some comrades here. Comrade Carl Ahin, Deputy Director of International Relations, Honorable Francis Servia Sosu, PC for Medina, Honorable Mohammed Ramadan, PC for Adenta, Senior Comrade Prosper Bani is here, former Chief of Staff, former Minister of Interior, our brother Honorable Fifi Kwete, MP for Ketu South, and all others are duly acknowledged. We've come to a very important part of this program, the most important part, and the strength of a man's vision is the capacity of his legacy to be carried on by the next generation. And so JJ has played his part, he has done his part, and there is a man that he discovered many years ago as a deputy minister, and then within a short time he appointed him to become a full minister, and within a short time, he was then an MP, and he rose to become the running mate, a vice presidential candidate, and he won the elections, and he served under Professor Mills, and he woke up one day from his house as a vice president, and by even to his surprise, he was president, and God confirmed that event by ensuring that he won in the 2012 elections. He came for 8 months, he was in court, the whole international community, funding was not coming, and then within 3 years and 4 months, his achievements in health, achievements in social infrastructure, unprecedented in the annals of this country. With only 54 billion, he was able to do so much. We believe that God had a purpose for him going away so that Ghanaians could see the difference. On this auspicious day, as we are eulogizing our founder, one of the sons that he brought up, that he nurtured, that he trained, that rose from being an assemblyman, a member of parliament, a deputy minister, a minister, a vice president, and a former president, and coming again to be president. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the incoming president. Ladies and gentlemen, as he comes, all those of you who have candles, I'd like you to light your candles. Light your candles wherever you are. If you don't have a candle, light your phone. Light your phone. And then I smoke as home as well. Light your candle. All candles on. All phones on. And we light this candle in the memory of our great and departed founder. Light your phones, modern technology, in memory of J.J. Rawlings, the leader of the revolution, the founder of the Fourth Republic, the one who bequeathed to us this Fourth Republican Constitution, who ended all coup d'etats, who brought democracy and stability to Ghana and the entire sub-region, the man we celebrate today. Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Let's give him a big round of applause. Amen.
Wechuma, and Nunti Boy, Minyamia Boy, Oyina Boyane, Eradia, Amaya to Mia, Wechuma, a June, when our friend no, Abemupi, Ofikasia Jume, when our friend no, Abemupi, Ankani Padom Bebre, now to be mammy, now Sonwa, now our friend no, what would it be? See now, friend no, any Padom Bebre, now so one, a radia frawo, a radia booby, and Tinawa, frawo, Missy, and Tipuayano. Eradia Poyano, Minyamia Poyana, Eradia Amaya to Miaye, Wechuma, Monsieur Radipuano, Minyamia Puan, Adufa Puane, Eradia Amawachu, Umiaye, Wechuma, Amen.
Lift your hands up and wave. Wona wo frayen, sayembra beya wechuma. Wona wo frayen, sayembra beya wechuma. Wona wo frejemo, sayembra beya wechuma. Wabo, wabo, wabo. Messi wabo. Wabo, wabo.
Thank you very much. Kindly be seated. Comrades and friends, we've gathered here with our little candles and lighted them in memory of a great person who not only lived amongst us, but inspired us, led us, fought for a better life for all Ghanaians, and fought for the ideals of social justice. Just as these little candle lights flicker, even as the wind blows, and they refuse to go off, the flame refuses to go off, so will the flame he lit in Ghana never be extinguished. There are great men who come along once in a lifetime, and we say that they will never die. It was said of Nkrumah that he would never die. His opponents mistook it to mean that he was being deified, like Jesus Christ. But all it meant was that his memory would live on and he will never die. It is the same with J.J Rawlings. His memory would live on and it will never die. You'll always come across his memory. Recently, I went to their front place, and at the Deba of chiefs and people, one of the chiefs, slightly elderly man, said that we were here and nobody knew that we existed, and that it was Flight Lieutenant J.J Rawlings who came and discovered us, and it is he who has made us who we are. Everything we have today, our roads, our hospital, the electricity, the water, it is his vision that brought all that to us. I thought that was a very powerful testament. Many years after he left office, this chief was speaking very powerfully about what he had done for them. I'll just say a few anecdotes of some of my personal experiences with him before I read my official statement. We wrote to him. I was president. And Cabinet had decided that the FPSOs that we use on our oil fields should be named after ex-presidents. And so the first one was named after Kwame Nkrumah, FPSO Kwame Nkrumah, and the Jubilee Field. The next one was named posthumously after President John Evans Atta Mills. And then there was a third one for the Sankofa Field. And the manufacturers were pressing us for a name, E&I. And so I got them to write a letter to him. And you know those presidential letters. In line with Cabinet's decision to name FPSOs after ex-presidents, I am directed by His Excellency the President to inform you that it has been decided to name the FPSO for the E&I Sankofa Field after you. Very imposing letter. And he wrote back to us, and he says he declined for the FPSO to be named after him. He says you can name it after any of our chiefs, our great chiefs, and he gave examples of those chiefs, Bewa, Jakpa, Krempe, and several others. And he said those famous words that I prefer to be remembered in the hearts of men than by monuments and statues. That was the man. And so, of course, the next FPSO, if you remember, was named after former President J.J. Rawlings. But that's one of the experiences with him. There was another time we attended a funeral together at the forecourt of the State House. And I was sitting next to him. And so when I sat down, I started exchanging pleasantries. And for those of us who have worked with him for quite a while, we know how to look out for his mood. There are sometimes he wants to be left alone. And there are sometimes he's in a good mood and he wants to chat. And so when you sit down, just recognize which of the moods he is in that day and just respect it. If he's not in the mood to talk, just keep quiet and sit. And so that's what we did. That day he was not in the mood to talk. I exchanged a few pleasantries and I realized he was not forthcoming. And so we just sat together quietly and watched what happened. And then later, a newspaper or a radio station interviewed me and said, you know, but why were you sitting with Jerry and you guys were not chatting? And I said, you need to gauge his mood because it depends on which mood he has. And so if he's not in the mood to talk, you know, don't bother him with any long talk. There's another joke we shared at Hogbechocho. We're sitting together and the Agbaja was taking place seriously. And all the back, you know, moves and all that. And then I cracked a joke. I told him, I said, boss, I called him boss. You see why you Ewe men don't get backache? Because of the vigorous Agbaja and the back exercises you do. He laughed and didn't say anything. And then that occasion you saw was when he was being given a doctorate at the University of Development Studies. And while we were at that function, there was a cultural troupe from the north that was doing the Bamaya dance. And for those of you who know the Bamaya, it involves a lot of waist shaking. I thought he had forgotten about this, and he said, Chief, you see why you Northerners don't have waist pains? You see how they're shaking their waist? You know, I mean, that's the kind of person we have lost. One of my recent experiences was in the choice of our running mate. I had to consult all the leaders and elders of the party. I had done quite a lot of consultation, And we had fixed a date, a Monday, to take a final decision. And so I asked to see him on Saturday. And so I went and saw him that Saturday. And I read out the names of those who had been shortlisted without saying what my own preference was. And there were 5 names. So he asked me, he said, have you finished all the consultations? I said, well, there are just a few more. I have to see Alhaji Muhammad Idrisu and a few more of the Council of Elders. He said, okay, why don't you finish with them and then come back and let's, discuss, and then you can make the final choice. So let's meet tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday. When do you say the event is? I said, it's on Monday. He said, okay, but I'll be in Tefle. I said, oh, no problem, I'll drive out there. And then we can sit by the water and drink some coffee. So he agreed, and I left. I finished the consultations. The next morning, I was getting ready to drive to Tefle, and then he called me and said, Chief, I decided to spare you the journey. Don't waste your time driving all the way to Tefle. Look on your phone, I've sent you a text. And he went off the line, so I checked my phone, and he said, you didn't tell me your choice, but I knew that your choice was Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyeman. He said, and you know his favorite, he said, she's a woman of integrity, and I think that you should go with her. That was the text. And so that sealed my decision. And everything else is history. But when the time comes, there are a lot of moments we shared with him that will be useful for us to put on paper in books for those of us who worked with him, so that future generations will know and understand the person that we are mourning today. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and our brothers and sisters around the world, and those joining us on TV via the internet. Thank you for joining us tonight as we pay homage to a most remarkable individual, a father, a husband, a soldier, a leader, a revolutionary, our comrade, president, a statesman, and my boss, Flight Lieutenant J.J Rawlings, the first president of our Fourth Republic. News of his death hit us like a thunderbolt. It is the kind of news that everyone can remember exactly what time, where you were, or even what you were doing at the time you heard the news. I was just arriving in Obuasi area to begin the 3rd day of our campaign tour of the Ashanti region when the news was broken to me via a phone call. It was too shocking to be true. I made a few more calls to some close relatives to verify if the information I had had was true. And alas, our worst fears were confirmed. The last time I met him at his mother's funeral, and subsequently had a telephone conversation with him after the funeral, he sounded hale and hearty, and didn't appear like anybody who was going anywhere anytime soon. I later learned he had been hospitalized when I was leaving for the Ashanti region. A quick call to one of his aides reassured me that he was taking a rest and being observed by the doctors after the stress and fatigue of his mother's funeral. Flight Lieutenant J.J Rawlings has been an enigma all his life, and no wonder his manner of departure from this world had to be sudden and totally unexpected. Like any leader, there were those who loved him and would lay down their lives for him. There are also, unfortunately, those who disliked him with a passion. And this is already reflected in his life's postscripts being written by many authors. Since his passing, I've seen several postscripts eulogizing him, and I've seen a few others in anguished that he passed away so peacefully. This marks the end of an era, but it's also the beginning of an era. The persona of Rawlings bestrides Ghana like a colossus. His impact on the current trajectory of our country has been immense, and it's necessary for us to find the right balance to appraise his role as the founder of Ghana's current democracy. His life was tumultuous. His life was filled with tragedy and triumphs. Death is the ultimate leveler. And we must use this occasion of his passing to bring healing to our nation. He was our comrade, and we worked with him. I called him boss, and he called me chief. He was not perfect. Neither are we perfect. We had our disagreements, and we had our joyous moments of success. Having led this country for 19 years, longer than any past leader has and ever will, his impact on where our country has come from and where it is headed cannot be understated. Let us make his death bring us together. As the longest serving head of state of our country, he was the leader of the revolution. He was a royal of Anglo. He was the husband of our former First Lady, Her Excellency Nana Konadu Rawlings. He was the father of Zaneto and her siblings. And also importantly, he was the founder of the National Democratic Congress, the NDC. And he was also a former president. So all these interests own the man. And these interests must come together to give him a simple but befitting farewell. What happens with our mortal remains are ephemeral. As was said by Shakespeare in the book Julius Caesar, the evil that men do lives after them, the good is often interred with their bones. For the cadres of the revolution and the members of the NDC, we must work and fight to ensure that his good is not interred with his bones, and that his positive impact on the history of this nation is preserved for posterity, and that the principles that he stood for are recounted to future generations yet unborn. Thanks to the organizers of this vigil, and may all who knew and appreciated him continue to celebrate his life. Knowing him and having worked with him, we all recognize his distaste for flamboyance, pomp, and pageantry. Let our party, therefore, NDC, the government, his family, and the Anglo state work together to celebrate his life and use his passing as an occasion for healing this nation and bringing us together again as one people with one nation and one destiny. These flaming candles we hold in our hands are symbolic of the good fight he fought. He struggled for us to remain together. His was a life well lived. Boss, your death is not an end, but a mark of new beginnings. Indeed, as you said, and I quote, we owe a sacred duty to Ghana to serve her people and help to achieve our legitimate aspirations. The worst crime is to abuse the trust reposed in us and thus destroy the hope of our people that the sacrifices we make will yield a better future for all of us. Quotations closed. Walk on. Stay well, brave soldier, senior comrade. Walk on. We're grateful for your life. We thank God for giving you to Ghana. May you rest in perfect peace, and may the flame you lit in Ghana continue to burn forever and ever. We will observe a moment of silence, both for our fallen founder, but also in memory of our former President, John Evans Atta Mills, and our former Vice President, Akwesi Misahata. Let's observe a minute's silence for these three personalities, but also for all the many comrades who have fallen in the battle. May their memories continue to live with us. A minute's silence, please. May God continue to preserve and bless us all. And thank you very much.
By special request, the cadres led by the General Secretary want to sing a song, and so we'll humbly invite them to come to sing. Okay, they'll be there. I should bring the mic. Revo, revo, revolution has a long way to go.
Photo. Photo.
Revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay. Cadres may come, but the revolution has come to stay. Revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay. Cadres may come, but the revolution has come to stay. Revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay. Continue. People, action. We will sing the party anthem. Are you all ready? Are you ready? Shall we all lift? Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. If you're ready to sing the party anthem. Arise, arise for Ghana, ye patriots of the land, to walk and seek your future development and goal. From victory unto victory, the NDC shall lead a stable democracy. Ghana, our strength in unity, from victory unto victory, the NDC shall lead a stable democratic Ghana, our strength in unity. No nearby. JM Wayamino, JJ Wayamino, Ezanato Wayamino, Kimati Wayamino, Mosquito Wayamino, Nana Wayamino, Oversapa from Wayamino, Arona Wayamino, Bagbe Wayamino, Ade Wayamino, Gavlo Wayamino, Emofiama Wayamino, no nearby. No nearby. What I mean, No nearby. Why I mean? Chavai! Nyongoli vale jata. Jatanya lao. Na lao si umalo. Where's that Bajaku? But they should come. They should come and display. Umalo. Nyongoli vale jata. Jata ya lao fia. Si umalo. Akakavo. Akata, hey! Akata, hey!
So these are scenes from the vigil organized in memory of the former president, Jerry John Rawlings, at the Obra Square here in Accra, Circle to be precise. And shortly, my colleague Maxwell Agbagba, who's been covering this for us on the ground, will join us with brief reactions, and we can wrap up our coverage for tonight. That vigil held in memory of the former president, Jerry John Rawlings, organized by the NDC. We've heard from the children. Dr. Zaneto Rawlings presented that. Also just gone by is the former president, John Dramani Mahama, I beg your pardon, also giving us his fond memories and then also some few thoughts on the man, Jerry John Rawlings. That's what has just gone by. Also earlier, we heard from Asiedun Ketia, the General Secretary of the NDC. Also, Sampo has also been speaking about it, telling us why they had a strained relationship with the former president, explaining that he was weaning himself off the party, amongst others. Also, Haruna Idris, the leader of the minority, also took his turn. We also heard from Alban Sumana, Kingsford Bagbing. A number of the cadres have been speaking tonight at that vigil. And what you can see in your shot, the delegation just leaving the former president, John Dramani Mahama, together with the wife and also the running mates. They've just left the scene. All the executives are there. My colleague, Maxwell Agbagba, is on standby. We can go to him now if he can hear us. I see that he's stationed with Kofi Adams and some party executives. Let's go live to Maxwell Agbagba. If you can hear me, Maxwell, at this point, we can come to you, Maxwell.
So we're live here from the brass spot, and we are privileged to have with us here a former aide to the former president, Jerry John Rawlings, Kofi Adams. He was here for the vigil. Let's speak to him and find out from him his fondest memories and how he will remember the former president. You're welcome, Kofi Adams.
Thank you.
We have been listening to various speakers extol the virtues of the
energy so that we will go forward and win this.
Unfortunately, Maxwell Agbagba's microphone there, we're unable to hear him, but we'll try and rectify that. We'll try again if we're able to reach my colleague Maxwell Agbagba, interacting with The former campaign coordinator, he's now a parliamentary candidate in the Boem constituency, Kofi Adams, there interacting with him. He worked closely quite some time after Victor Smith. He worked with the former President Jerry John Rawlings before taking up positions in the party. If Maxwell is ready, can we go back to Maxwell Agbagba? It appears Maxwell is unable to hear us, but this is our coverage of that vigil organized by the NDC in memory of the former president, Jerry John Rawlings. It's been a life that many have described in different ways. He's a man, he's a different man to different people. Many have described him in several ways. Some say he's a criminal, some say he's a saint. Whatever it is he is to you, some say that it definitely would be. But we'll go back to Maxwell Agbagba again. We'll try him again. Okay.
Kofi Adams is here with us. Kofi, so I was talking about how various speakers here were extolling the virtues of the former president. You've worked closely with him. What kind of person was he?
Jerry Rawlings was one person who believed in one thing, truth. That in truth you will find everything. And that was where he got one of his famous quotes, where he said that in trying to look for truth in God, he ended up equally also finding God in truth. Because in truth you will find everything. So he spoke on every occasion believing that he was speaking the truth. He believed that if we have to do any reforms, those reforms must be done around truth. So even if the truth hurt him personally, he will still speak it. So that if we have to pursue a reform, we are pursuing the reform based on the truth that has been spoken. One thing that defined him equally is his kindness. And if you talk about empathy and fellow feeling, you can't take it away from Jerry Rawlings. And of course, identifying talents. Very low there. People with low esteem. You listen to Honorable Bagby talk about who he was and who he has become. That is Jerry Rawlings. People like us, our mates in secondary school and even university, when they meet us today, they say, but you, how did you transform to this? It's Jerry Rawlings. He is able to see the talent in you. He pulls it out and transforms you into something he thinks you are capable of doing, which is hidden. That is him, and that is why he's identified a lot of talents, very silent, and brought it to public limelight.
Talking about his ability to spot and identify talent, how did he get to work with you? How did you get to work with him?
Oh, of course, I was a party executive. I've served from Central Region as a branch chairman, constituency youth organizer, constituency secretary, regional youth organizer, and was elected deputy national youth organizer in 2005. That was when we actually got even much more closer. And so later, when he had some challenges with Ambassador Smith, he called me to take over the responsibility of running the office. I was happy that he called me, but it was challenging. He took me, as I said earlier in my presentation, as a young person, took me into even his school days. His decision-making processes, his thought processes, what informed certain decisions that he took, and brought me to understand who he was. And so it made my job a bit easier. And he loved me like a son. So it was more like a boss-servant relationship, a father-son, a comrade relationship. That was President Rawlings for you. So he made the atmosphere very easy for you to work with him. And I worked with him in the best of times, when he was really willing to open up and to share with somebody some of the decisions he has taken, even in government. So that was the right time for someone like me or anybody to have gotten the best of him, and I got it. And I'm grateful he gave me that opportunity, and I'm grateful to have worked with him at that time.
You clearly shared some very good moments together. What are your fondest memories of him?
Traveling around the country and the world is one of the best times to be with President Rawlings, especially when the day has gone so well and you get to dinner time. That is where you see the best of it, where he will crack all the jokes, where he will tell you stories from the past. He told me one story at dinner why, as chairman of PNDC, he used not to entertain eating alone. He always preferred the eat as a company. All of them will eat in the bowl together. So if anybody was thinking something that you want to drop something in the food, then all of you will have to go. So one day they had prepared grass cutter soup for them. And it is believed that the boss must eat the head of the grass cutter. So as they ate together with late PV Obin and the rest, nobody wanted to touch the head. Everybody will eat and push the head in his direction. Then he also push it to them. Then they will push, then he will push. Nobody touched it till the meal was over. So once they were going, then he asked, so you guys, why were you pushing the head? They said, oh, the head of the grass cutter is the best part of the meat. So it is reserved for the boss. That was why we were pushing to. So I thought that was where you put the poison and you wanted me to eat and go. So me too, I didn't want it. That's him. He cracked jokes to make the atmosphere quite lively. And those are the things you mix of President Rawlings. You will love working with him. He wasn't a difficult person to work with at all. But when you are far, it is made to look like that is a very difficult person. No. You know, there are times when he's going to speak, it's not like he doesn't know people will attack him and take him on. He knows. But he knows what he's saying represents the concerns of the voiceless. And somebody must necessarily speak it. If he doesn't, who will? And so it is not like he is unaware that when he critiques a government, the government will not respond. They will not sometimes insult him. They will not denigrate him. He knows. But he still knows that what he's saying must be said. Somebody must say it. And he cannot look the other way for his comfort, for him not to be insulted or to be taken on and keep quiet when he feels that the concerns of the voiceless are there to be spoken on.
Wow. Finally, before you go, he was very critical at a point of the young people in the party. He said many of them were veering off the values on which the NDC, was founded. You were a member of the party, you were his aide, obviously found yourself in a very difficult situation at that point. What did you make of all the issues that were making the rounds those times?
Jerry Rawlings lives every saying. The saying that repair your home before even getting out there. The saying that charity must start from home. So he has a difficulty. He already knows that those outside of his group are not doing the right thing. That is why they have not associated with him. So if he found anything going wrong within his group, he needed to correct it first. He believed that leadership is about observing and making sure that nobody is creating a hole in the boat. So if ever he saw anyone trying to nail something that will bring a hole, he will want to talk about it. Not because those outside the group are better than the people within, but he thought that we must live up to the challenge and not even allow any hole. That was the father figure, the grandfather figure that we had. And in our quietness, when we go, we all accepted that what he's saying is right, is true, but maybe we thought that, oh, the platform was wrong. But which other platform will he get to say some of the things? He also chose such platforms for people far away to know that it is not that he is looking the other way to allow his own children possibly to do something that is wrong. And that was why sometimes he used such public platform to let people know that no, It's not like he has gone to sleep. It's not like he has forgotten. He loved his party, he loved his people, and he knew we represented the best for this country.
Thanks so much, Kofi Adams, for speaking to us. We are most grateful.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you too.
Great. So you just heard from the former spokesperson and former special aide to President Rawlings. Quite refreshing, to hear from him. He worked very closely with the former president, and he has been sharing some of the good times that he had together with us, letting us know, taking us a bit closer to who the man Rawlings was. Now let's get in there and have conversation with some of the party faithfuls who've gathered here. Ongoing now is a special Bobobo session that is happening right here on the stage. Of course, the affinity that Rawlings has with the Volta region. His mother comes from the Volta region, Victoria Gutui, hails from the Volta region. And for a lot of people who come from that part of the country, Jerry Rawlings is seen as the ambassador, a worthy ambassador for the Volta region. Many see him as an icon if you go to the Volta region, and they respect him and give him that, that reverence. And that is what we've seen happening here. And the Volta region is properly represented here with all the Bobobo sessions, happening. They started tonight's vigil with the Bobobo. They are ending with it. You can hear the sound of the trumpets and what is happening on the stage. Let's speak to some of the people who are gathered here. Let's find out from them also. What?
That's my colleague Maxwell Agbagba wrapping up there from the Obra spot here in Accra. That vigil organized by the NDC in memory of the late Jerry John Rawlings. So you know that the family has also announced that there will be no 1 week ceremony, and that anyone who wants to pay a visit to the family would have to book an appointment, and numbers have been put out for that to happen. So please take note. So that's in line with the COVID-19 safety protocols. And of course, we're told that an announcement will be made in terms of what the next way forward is. But we're still in the 7-day period of mourning that was declared by the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. We already know that he will also be giving a state burial. We're yet to know when exactly that will happen. So that's about it for tonight. Thank you so much for your company. We'll continue to bring you the very latest. And remember that tomorrow morning on the AM show, we'll be bringing you that interview with Obed Asamoah. He was a former Attorney General for Mr. Rawlings. At some point also, he was one of the secretaries under the PNDC also. We're bringing you that interview he had with Benjamin Akakpo, and also more excerpts from that interview with Dr. Benjamin Kumbo, who is a close confidant. He's also been speaking to my colleague Daniel Dati. Stay with us here on Joy News, and also thank you for keeping on making us #1 as we won that CIMG award. We'll see you tomorrow. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Do stay with us.